All right, so here we are, part 3 of this series. At the end of the second part, I finished very quickly, and I think I'll start this one with a recap of shutdown. Now, keep in mind our different conditions. We have 4 conditions here. We have positive economic profit, as we see here. We have negative economic profit, as we see here. Let me finish this one to make sure. We need a shade and make sure we're labeled here. Both positive and negative economic profit are short-run conditions because positive will spur entry and negative will spur exit and will eventually bring us back down to the long-run economic condition, which is zero economic profit for the perfectly competitive firm. The fourth condition is shutdown. The verbal explanation is price is less than average variable cost. And basically what we're doing is we're assessing costs of shutdown. If I shut down right now, let's say I'm incurring a $50 loss right now if I remained in business. However, my fixed costs are only $10. If I shut down right now, I still have to pay those fixed costs, which is $10. If I stay in business, I have to pay the $50 loss, which is my staying in business loss. As a result, it's actually cheaper for me to shut down right now and incur that $10 fixed cost loss and get rid of all my variable costs. Of course, no revenue either. But it's cheaper to take the $10 fixed cost hit than it is to stay in business, actually have some revenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, incur a $50 loss. So the difference here is the role of the fixed cost compared to what your variable costs are. If I stay in business, I have both fixed plus variable costs, and I have revenue. However, if I shut down, I get rid of my variable costs as well as my revenue, and the only thing left is that fixed. So I'm going to do what's cheaper. So if price is less than the average variable cost, as you see here, if price is less than a VC, that would be a shutdown condition. I'm not going to stay in business. Now, the way that this would look in a supply curve, by the way, is if, let's say that this price and this quantity combination is profit max, of course, I'm incurring a loss. So what I would do is if I'm going to shut down here, then my marginal cost does this. You can see the red line, and then it goes straight down like this, which means that this part of the line, oh, I can't erase it. This part of the line, let me try this, see if this will work. I think it will. Oh, it's just, it's not working. This part of the line that I just kind of made lighter actually is cut off. So my supply curve is actually going to be the marginal cost curve slanted downward till the shutdown point. And at the shutdown point, I'm not going to produce any quantities less than that shutdown point. So just this part of the curve here looks more like the old-fashioned supply curves, which are just downward sloping. So you cut the tail off the marginal cost curve at the shutdown point. And then, of course, we cut off this horizontal and then vertical part of the curve so that we have more of a traditional looking supply curve. And that's why the supply curve looks like it does. Anyway, I kind of went off in left field there a little bit. Sorry, come back to the topic at hand. Shutdown is when price is less than average variable cost because it's cheaper for me to shut down. Now, this is, in fact, a long-run decision. My two choices in the long run is zero profit, stay in business, or shut down because it'd really be cheaper in the short run for me to shut down. Okay, so moving on to the last part of this. The last part of this, I want to make a little bit more clear the shifting curves. Now, earlier we were talking about entry and exit. Let's say, for example, I'm going to slide the ATC curve up here so we have a loss. So we're now incurring at the profit max quantity, we're now incurring a loss here, okay? So what's going to happen if we have a loss is the supply curve on the market side is going to shift leftward And the reason why it shifts leftward is because we have the weaker firms leaving the market because they can't keep incurring that loss. That means equilibrium price on the market side goes up. So we have a new equilibrium price on both sides. We have the marginal revenue goes up accordingly, and it will actually settle in. It'll actually settle in where P equals ATC. So we actually are going to settle in here at a new profit maximizing level where P equals ATC, and that's long run. That's what's going to happen if there's a loss and we have the exit. If we have, shift the ATC down here, if we have positive profit, which is what we see in this particular case, because price is greater than ATC, what's going to happen is we're going to have entry, which means the supply curve is going to start shifting right as we have more sellers in the market. And it's actually going to continue. We're going to have a new equilibrium, which is going to drive the marginal revenue curve down. And we're going to wind up at a new price for both the market and for the firm. And the new quantity, we have an S2 here. I'm just going to draw it. S2, because supply went up. We have a new, boom, quantity on the market side. We have a new price. Everything shifts here. So the firm shifts its production level to a new quantity because we want MR equals MC. And here we are at zero profit. So entry and exit, this one is exit. S2, supply went down, drove the equilibrium price up. Let me put all my little labels in here. Here's a Q2. So this will connect here, this will connect here. So we have exit, which means we have fewer producers, supply shifts left, new equilibrium price and quantity on the market, drives the MR up for the individual firms until we eventually wind up where P equals ATC. It eats away that loss for the firms that stay in. We have a new quantity because MR equals M2. We have MR1 and MR2 here. This is 1, this is 2. The new MR2 and MC creates a new quantity production, new profit max for the firms that survived. And boom, here you go, zero profit. Okay, so let's move ahead. So what happens in a scenario where we don't have entry and exit? We start at long run equilibrium. So we're sitting here at P equals ATC, long run equilibrium for the firm. Yay, woohoo. All right, something happens on the market side. Let's say that this product becomes extremely popular. It becomes a fad. Everybody's got to have it. Well, we learned from a previous unit, because of a fad, demand goes up. So we wind up with a new demand curve. Well, we have a new equilibrium that is created, boom, and we have a new market side quantity that is created. So let's shift the market side. We have a new P2, we have a new Q2, because demand went up, because it is now a fad. Now what we want to do is look at the market side and see the results of this. Well, there's a new P2 on the firm side, the results of what happened in the market, what happens in the firm. The new equilibrium price on the market drives the marginal revenue up for the firm. Copy, paste. So now we have MR2, MR1. So marginal revenue actually went up for the individual firm. Now what we need to do is assess the new equilibrium, MRMC. Here's the new, do a dotted line. This is horrible. This is the new quantity level that the firm is going to produce. It's the new profit max quantity, this little purple line here. Make it a dash line. Good. So this is your new profit max for the firm. Well, we see that when this happens, if you look where the new quantity hits, let me get the yellow one, where the new quantity hits the ATC, we see that we have now created excessive profit for this firm. Excessive profit would be this area here. shaded the incorrect shading like that. Good. So now we're sitting at excessive profit. Now, what did we learn earlier? This is positive profit. Excessive profit is the same thing as positive profit. So what did we learn earlier? If we are where P is greater than ATC, this is positive profit. Okay, if price is greater than ATC, which is positive profit, that stirs entry into the market. Well, when entry is stirred into the market, what happens on this side is we start to see more and more, if you look at the supply curve on the market side, more firms start to enter the market, and we see the supply go up. When supply goes up, we have 1, 2, it drives the price actually back to P1. It drives the marginal revenue of the firm back to MR1. So for the firm, they actually wind up in the same place where they left off, where they started. On the market side, however, we see we have a much higher quantity. Why do we have a much higher quantity? Because we have a lot more firms in the market competing with one another. Hence, we have a higher quantity in the market, but the firms that went through this roller coaster ride actually wind up at the same place where they started from in the beginning. So what we need to be able to do is to change not only our supply curves, we need to change our demand curves up and down and watch what happens to the new equilibriums on the market. How does that affect the marginal revenue on the firm? How does that affect entry and exit? And how will that affect the supply? And what's going to happen to the firms that survive? So we got a lot of curve shifts that are taking place. So you have some practice exercises in class. You have the modules to read. I have some practice exercises online. You need to go through all of those and assess all of these different conditions and what is happening to the firm. Go back and review the videos if you have to. Make sure you read the modules. Absolutely vital. When you are in class, make sure that you are discussing with your fellow students, getting some extra help. And of course, you guys all have my email. If you need some extra help, feel free to email me, and I will do my best to answer them electronically. Good luck.